So is it limerence or is it love? These soul connections nowadays are getting super intense, super toxic, super vibey, super everything, just super charged, right? And so then what we tend to have happen is because it's so soul shocking, soul expanding, like just whoa, we tend to question, is it love? He loves me not. And then the worst thing could happen. We can turn it into limerence. But then we have people in the spiritual community telling us it's our twin flame. So how do we really know? Is it limerence or love? And is the whole shit show worth it? Let's figure it out together. So happens to all of us. This woo, it's love. I've never felt so connected. I feel like I've known this person my whole life. Oh, the thought of him just makes me lose it. You know, there's a connection. I feel him. I see him. I dream about him. He's everything. And that's all very well and true, y'all. I mean, we do have these connections with people that can bring up a lot within us, and then they can leave us reeling afterwards, mainly because we can't hold that vibration very long. Yeah, it sucks. That Rumi quote, we're just seeking to, love is always available. We're just seeking to, break down the walls that block it or something along those lines. But at the end of the day, that's the truth. When we first get connections, the reason they feel so soul soaring with somebody who's like us energetically or has a lot of the same vibrational stuff as us going on, and it feels so good in the beginning, it's because it's our soul connecting. And then the ego, after we know them for a little bit, or the first little trigger happens because the real person is actually there and it's not just the soul recognition, then it all comes crashing down. And I just want to know, this is a topic near and dear to my heart because I do a lot of coaching calls every week, and this is the number one topic. And I've been coaching for almost 10 years, y'all. So imagine how many conversations I've had to have about this. And this is what I've learned. And I want you to understand the biggest thing we can do is just get to the nitty gritty. Is this love or is this limerence? Because once you can understand and really start looking at this, sometimes we got to use some logic to understand love, not to dismiss it, just to understand. What is this showing me? What is this teaching me? And if we get into a state of limerence, that can be a wrecker of logic. So let's get to the nitty gritty of how we discern if this is a soul contract, a twin flame, a soulmate, a catalyst, a karmic, or if it's just a whole bunch of limerence. Okay, so I'm going to tell you a story about me. I know I like to tell stories and I give them characters and things, but the story of me is something like this. When I was young, I had this pattern that I started very young. I was about 4 the first time I remember doing it. It was, I'm running away from home and I'm going to sleep inside my suitcase in a abandoned field, which were all around me at the time. I lived in kind of a country area, and I was going to sleep in this suitcase in the field, and then my Prince Charming, and I'm sure I got this from Disney movies, was going to come and rescue me from the suitcase and take me to his healthy, safe, warm home. And this is the illusion I started to make up for myself in childhood because I was not cared for. I wasn't fed. I was very neglected. I had been born into a family with severe mental health issues, and I was eventually taken from my family. But this is where my limerence began. Because what was happening for me is that our souls, our inherent nature is we want to feel good, okay? And so when we have circumstances in our lives that make us not feel good, then we tend to lean into imagining things that can make us feel better. I mean, I can remember, actually, I was younger when I started to really get into limerence, because now I'm recalling a time when I was 3 and I would watch the neighbor family. We had lived across the street from a park. It wasn't the kind of park you think either. It was the ghetto. But we lived across the street from a park, and I watched the neighbor, husband and wife, take their two kids to the park every day and come back home. And I was never, my mom just slept all the time. I was 3. I remember pushing a chair up to the door and opening it, unlocking it, and going to the neighbor's house and thinking that they were just going to adopt me. And I lived there now. And they opened the door for me and they sat me down at the table. They were eating breakfast and I hadn't eaten. And I want to say this was afternoon. I don't know what time it was, but I remember eating that food thinking, finally, I'm being fed. I'm sitting at a table with people. I don't know how long it had been since I ate, but I remember them saying when my mom came to the door, if I was there, them saying, this girl is starving. It stuck with me. But the limerence, when my mom came and took me, I was devastated because I truly believed in limerence that these people were going to keep me. They were going to see that I needed the family and that they loved me. I was starting to create limerence from a traumatic childhood very early. And so what this leads me to help you understand about limerence is the reason that we have gotten into these limerence states is to feel okay with bad situations. Okay, so let's apply that to understanding, is this love or is this limerence? If we question that, that's the first sign that is probably limerence. Okay? Because if somebody loves you, you're going to know. And so what's happening is most of the time we start to form a limerent connection because we feel that rejection and abandonment. And somewhere in our patterning from our youth, and everything is our unconscious patterning from our youth, is really the driver. Even though conscious adult you could be like, ugh, this dude is just avoiding me. He's ignoring me. He's running. He doesn't, he's out at the club. He's doing this, but then that little person you that has a pattern for that rejection is creating limerence. And the reason I say if you're questioning it, then it almost certainly is limerence, because if somebody loved you, they'd show up. They'd communicate with you. Love is a healthy thing. And now I don't want you to get into this thing where you're saying, oh, all men are jerks and no men can love me completely, this and that. There's a difference, because what we're talking about here is somebody, if you're questioning if this is love or limerence, that means this person's not communicating efficiently, effectively, or giving you any kind of validation or feedback for you to understand what's happening. So you're creating limerence. Okay? Because even if you have a person that is broken and is incapable of loving you effectively, they will communicate that to you, and then you wouldn't have to question. But if they're just rejecting you, abandoning you, not answering you consistently, showing up one day and then disappearing and ghosting you and doing all of these things, and you're questioning if it's love or limerence, it's most definitely limerence. And I don't care what any twin flame teacher told you. I don't care what any psychic told you. I don't care about any of that shit. If you are questioning it because this person is inconsistent and can't give you some answers and it makes you all over the place, but then you believe that this person is your true love or your soulmate or your twin flame or any of that, that's limerence. Be like, this chick don't know what she's talking about. Please hear me out. Okay? So let's just say I'm wrong. Let's just start understanding what we're doing in this limerent state, whether it's true love or not, because you can put limerence onto somebody who could love you correctly if you maybe aren't doing the running, or if you're not triggering them and not seeing yourself. So there is a little bit of a caveat in there, but either way, if it is taking over your heart, mind, and soul, and this person isn't showing up for you consistently, you are having some limerent tendencies. And if I can help you understand how to unravel limerence, then the pain, the waiting, the conflicting duality within you, oh, I'm over it, I'm moving on, oh, I want him so bad, all of that can just get unraveled, and we can just be with what really is and start really healing. I don't even like the word healing. Let's just start realigning with truths. This person isn't capable of loving me. I'm not holding on anymore. But we can't because of limerence. And now just remember, bear in mind, we somewhere in our lives didn't feel like we were being loved, cared for. We probably felt that there was something dysfunctional or unlovable about us. And so then what we do is we put everybody else up on this pedestal, and then we create a limerence of they're going to come and get me once I fix me, he's going to miss me. I love that lyric. And, that could be one of the limerence. I think that's the biggest one with like the twin flame belief system. Like once I fix me, he's going to miss me or he's going to come back. It's just, this, that. And so we can get into a lot of limerence states with that, especially if you have the childhood like I described mine to be. It's like everybody else, has it. My neighbor had a mom and dad that took him to the park and I didn't. And so I was unworthy. So I created these states that I was going to go and find the person that would see me and love me. And so our inherent nature is we want to feel good about reality and life. And so then we project this limerence onto people that touch our wound. Isn't that such a shit show, y'all? It really is. The worst part about it is we could have the worst freaking possible human. And that's just because they're calling for love too. They're broken, but just treating us extremely bad. And we'll put them on a pedestal like, oh, once I get my body right or my emotions right or my energy right, or I'm not tripping on him anymore, he's going to love me. And we can do this with the worst possible person. And honest to goodness, a lot of times when we have these deep-seated patterns that cause us to go in states of limerence, we will attract the worst person because guess why? Because they won't let us see the real. They'll keep running and avoiding and not letting us see that they're a crappy person. So our illusion can take real strong hold. Limerence is illusion. I would say the ruler of limerence is probably Neptune. And so, and we do have strong Neptunian influence in our lives right now. And Neptune is making some strong changes. So I think this is a lot why it's coming up too, is with Neptune being in Pisces, man, we are facing some of our deep waters or our unconscious patterns. So it's a good thing. Can suck. But my point is that the best candidate for us to project a limerent state onto is somebody who's avoidant. We can't even see, because if that person came every day and showed up and we talked to him and this and that, we would realize, oh, why did I put this person on a platform and fix me so he'd want me, and all of these things that we do because of that strong connection. And so what I tell people on the line to get out of limerent states, and this is the key, and it's super hard, but every single person that finally sat with it and started to embrace what they had to do and did it, the limerence was broken. The alignment with that person was ended, and they were free. Not only from that connection that could have held them for years, decades, as thinking they were a soulmate or a twin flame, but it also helped them recognize immediately if they felt something for a person and they started to do a limerence. They knew right away, and that is a gift, y'all. There's a lot of projection and limerence in this world because our inherent nature is to feel good, so we make up these illusions. So let me get to that tip for you, because I'm telling you, it's hard, but be with me here because I know it works. So how do we distinguish if this is love or limerence? We chase. So this is going against a lot of this chaser runny theory. I like it. I said runny. A runny mess. But we chase it. Chase our triggers. I've coined that phrase in coaching. Chase your triggers. Because if we're avoiding the triggers, or we're sitting there trying to heal ourselves without facing the triggers, which is a huge thing that we've done for a lot of our lives, is, that situation's no good, I'm just going to shut down. And before you know it, we hit 50s like me, and we turn into bitter old people that don't want to face anything. We're just at home like, screw the world. because we didn't want to face all this stuff. So my advice to you, and the way that I know you can get out of limerence, is chase your triggers. And if that person is an avoidant, which more than likely they are if you're watching this video, and they're a runner, then you start to really show up, because trust me, there's a part of you that's running from them too. Yeah. I had the best energy teacher right out the gate when I went through my expansion circa 2011. So she helped me understand that if this person did start coming towards me, I would start to shut down and run or self-sabotage or do something to not show up, because I liked to stay in limerence. You know, this is another way of saying self-sabotage with love. And so we tend to have this pattern where we couldn't even be in a real love connection, because then we do the running because we'd rather be in limerence. That was a mouthful. So let's just go back to, we are going to face this connection till we can see it what it really is. And I can give you an example. You know, I put people on pedestals after I told you, you know, I would create limerence if a dude would reject me. And the area of the country I was in, you know, there was just a lot of bad patterning with men and women, lowest marriage rates in the country, just not a good union type energy at all. And so a lot of these men were rejecting me, and I would create limerence with them and, you know, just be hurt all the time, just walking around like I'm just so rejected. And then he's coming back, and then I would hold on to this and miss that. And if I would have just kept seeing them, because every single time I broke limerence, it was because I was like, I'm just going to keep showing up wherever they are. I'm going to talk to them. I'm going to go to the things. I'm going to keep hitting him up even if he ignores me. I'm going to call him on the telephone, because guess what would happen? I would see who they really were. And guess what then was the actual thing that would happen? Yuck. We create a lot of delusions about who people are when we're in states of limerence, because we want to feel good about things. This guy is busy, he's working. Like, one of my biggest limerences was, oh my God, this guy's so amazing. He's like a hard worker, because my husband I had left, he wasn't such a hard worker, and I'd been with him for 18 years. So I was looking at him in contrast. Like, you know, I had this great soul connection with him. We were vibing and everything was going good. And I was like, wow, he's a single dad. He's had the same job for 20 years. He's an amazing guy. Like, I love the way he makes me laugh. Like, I love his smile, you know, all these things, right? And all of a sudden, he started to avoid me. He wouldn't link up with me. He wouldn't do anything. And I was just like, wait, what? And I immediately formed that limerence, because he was the soul contract that was going to help me see what I do. And so then after a long time, y'all, then I started to really push. Okay, I got to see who this guy really is. You know, initially when everything happened, I deleted him off all my social media. I didn't want anything to do with him. And then all of a sudden I just brought him all back, all social media, started running in the same circles, running into him at festivities in my town, just seeing him for who he really was. And I was like, oh my God, this is not my person. It was intensely confronting, y'all. But how did I shake myself of that limerence that I first formed about him? That is what I do when people reject me. I'm just like, oh, maybe he just saw that I wasn't, you know, a hard worker, or he thought that I was not fit, or he thought that I was a stoner, or whatever it is he thought. I was making it about me not being good enough, 100%. I put him on that pedestal from childhood. I was this neglected girl that didn't deserve love. But when I saw who he really was as a person, I'm like, what the freak am I chasing? This is not what I projected limerence onto, this fairy tale prince that's going to come when he realizes once I fix me, he's going to miss me. No, he didn't think about me twice. He'd been with 30 women that past year that I was over there crying. But I couldn't shake the limerence until I saw the truth. Like Jesus said, the truth will set you free, baby. We just got to want to see it. Do we want to live in limerence? Yes, that's what we've based our lives on. We create these delusional limerent states so that we don't have to face hard shiz. And sometimes that person's rejecting you because they can't even meet you where you are. Why are we taking all of this so personally? Chase your triggers. See the limerence. Is it love or limerence? You won't know until you keep facing it and letting it hurt you and stop making up stories. This twin flame stuff, I'm not saying there is or isn't a twin flame, but this is key. Okay, so end of story time, but I want to tell you one thing in hindsight of my own limerence situations from 3 on up to coaching people for almost a decade, actually over a decade. Gosh, it's getting old. I'm getting old. And just everything that I've learned is you want to see the truth. You know, a lot of women call me and they'll just be like, yeah, he hung out with me on Sunday and now he hasn't answered me all week. What's going on with him? Why is this happening? What am I doing wrong? What am I not seeing? It's like, sometimes no answer is the answer. Move on. And then when he comes back, set a healthy boundary. Hey, yo, if you ghost me again and not respond, then I'm just going to be done. But I'm telling you, those limerence states where we think that, you know, oh, this person's got to heal. I got to give him space. I got to give him this. I got to get myself better. Maybe I was too pushy. Maybe I was smothering. Maybe I was... Fuck that. Tell them what you need. And if they can't, then believe them. That's who they are. They're not going to show up for you. They're not going to magically one day just show up and be this Prince Charming. That's what the twin flame union shiz teaches you, and it is bullshit. It's always work. But if they can't do the bare basic minimums, especially after you tell them, this is a wound for me, can you just show up? And they can't, it's not your person. And don't create any more limerence about it. So I hope these tips and tricks and stories all help really jog something in you so you can start facing your own thing that guided you to this video, and you can start facing it and seeing the truth, releasing that energy, that psychic connection. That's all it is. You've created it through your limerence. And then get on with finding true, healthy people that are capable of showing up for you. Broken, but still showing up in the bare minimums. All right, so I hope this video helps, because I know this topic is so near and dear to my heart, because so many people suffer with these intense connections, especially, you know, if they're trying to heal some patterns from their childhood. So if you like this video, please like, share, subscribe. And until next time, take care.